Hey, have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, but your body still feels like it's working against you? I know I have. In fact, I feel like that regularly, especially these days. The weight won't budge, your energy is gone, your brain feels foggy. Maybe you're tired, inflamed, moody, not sleeping well, or you just don't feel like yourself. And then someone tells you your labs look normal. Today's guest, Dr. Angela Rahm, says midlife does not have to be the beginning of the decline. Now, let me say that again to you. Midlife does not have to be the beginning of the decline. It may just be your body asking for a new kind of support. Today, we're talking hormones, metabolism, aging, peptides, confidence, and why women need to stop blaming themselves for symptoms that deserve better answers. Today's conversation is for the woman who looks like she's had it all together on the outside, but on the inside, she's tired, she's foggy, frustrated, inflamed, gaining weight, not sleeping well, or just wondering, what happened to me? Can you guys relate to this? I know you can. And maybe she's already been told your labs look normal.
My goal and every woman's goal should be to look and feel as young as we possibly can, because what you do now, what you do today is going to affect you 5 years from now, 10 or 20 years from now. And we have to kind of wake up and think, okay, how do I want to change my health? What's the direction I really want to be? Do I want to be 60 years old and I can't get down on the floor with my grandkids and get up without somebody helping me? Or am I going to be hiking up some mountain with my 16-year-olds and keeping up with them and saying, come on?
Everyone has a soft drawer where we hide the stuff we don't want to face. Today, we're opening yours. I'm Lisa Begley, and this is the Soft Drawer Podcast. If your life feels messy, stuck, or outgrown, good. That's where we begin.
Hey, Sock Drawer family. Today's conversation is for the woman who looks like she has it all together on the outside, but on the inside, she's tired, foggy, frustrated, inflamed, maybe gaining weight, not sleeping well, or just wondering, what has happened to me? And maybe, just maybe, she's already been told, but your labs look normal, but her body does not feel normal. Welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast. Today, our guest is Dr. Angela Rahm. I'm so grateful that she's here. She's here to help women look deeper. She's a licensed naturopathic doctor and the founder of Ideal Self Today, where she focuses on midlife, metabolic reset, hormone optimization, functional medicine, peptides. We're going to talk a lot about that, weight loss support, and helping women feel strong, clear, and confident at home and in their bodies once again. But listen, Angela's story did not begin because wellness became trendy. It began in a very personal way when her son was suffering with Lyme disease, and the answers she was getting, they just weren't enough. That experience pushed her to ask better questions, to study deeper, and eventually build a practice around helping women uncover what their bodies are really trying to tell them. So here's the deal. Today, we're going to talk about hormones, metabolism, aging, peptides, confidence, and why midlife does not have to mean decline. Dr. Angela Rahm, so excited you're here. Welcome to the Sock Drawer Podcast.
I'm so excited to be here and talk about my favorite topic, women and health. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Oh gosh, it's our privilege because the things that you're going to share with us, I know our audience and our listeners want and need to hear. And I know there's a zillion questions out there regarding a lot of these things. Like there's so much chaos around and trendiness around these things that we really need someone to share with us the facts. And that's what you're here to do. And I'm so excited. But first, if you don't mind, I always like to kind of start at the beginning because none of us, we didn't get here without a story and we all have it. So take us back. How did this all happen for you? Like what led you from being a mom, searching for answers for your son to becoming a licensed naturopathic doctor?
Yeah, wow. It's a loaded story. We could spend an hour just talking about it, but I will try to sum it up really fast. And
Yeah.
yes, my son was finally diagnosed with Lyme disease. I say finally because if you've suffered with Lyme disease or know anybody who has suffered with Lyme disease, it is not something that, especially we're talking 20 years ago, it's something that wasn't mainstream at all. And the testing was kind of mediocre. And so we just didn't know what was wrong with him. And at the time, I owned franchises. I was kind of the franchise queen. I liked that whole system from the time I was 25. I'm 60 now. So when I was 25, I was in my then husband and I were under, like, everyone's heard of Subway restaurants, right? So we were, I think our store, I want to say it was like store number 388. And we had the first interstate store. So we were early kind of pioneers in the whole Subway franchise business. We did that for about
Oh,
10
yeah.
years. And, life happens, divorce happened. Now I've got a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old that, I'm divorced, I'm single, and I go back to work. I actually worked for Coca-Cola for a year and a half, went into a cold call of this restaurant called Papa Murphy's. And funny, a lot of people still don't know what that is, but it's a take and bake pizza restaurant. So when I walked in on this cold call, I was like, this is like Subway of pizza. And I went home and, back then I think Google might have been around. Who knows how I searched, but I got the home office contact and they flew into, I live near Madison, Wisconsin, and they flew in and we had a meeting and they basically told me that the city that I was looking at opening one of these would be like, it wouldn't work. And I was like, listen, I have owned 3 Subway restaurants. We were some of the top stores. I know what I'm doing. They finally agreed to let me open this store. I had to sign waivers and all kinds of that stuff I couldn't make income claims because they told me it's going to be hard for you to be successful. Well, I ended up having 3 of the top 6 stores in our southwestern Wisconsin. And now they've changed in the last, 20 years, they've changed their whole way of building their franchises and who they will give franchises to on me, because of me.
Awesome.
And so at the time we had 4 Subway restaurants. Then I got out of that. Then I had 3 Papa Murphy's restaurants. And in that Papa Murphy's timeframe, I built a strip mall and thought, I'm going to plumb this for a hair salon. And I asked owner of a Fantastic Sam's if he would want to have that. And he said yes. And then his wife was diagnosed with cancer. So then he pulled out. And then I invited the regional manager down and we're walking around. He's like, this would be a great space. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. And I was like, what does it take to open one of these? Like, I'm not a hairstylist. I don't know anything about running a hair salon, but what does it take? Like, it's a franchise. Like, how
Yeah.
different can it be? Long story short, ended up getting into Fantastic Sam's. And then about a year later, I sold that. And then a couple of years later, when my son got sick, I thought I need to go back to school because this is ridiculous that it cost me this much money and for him to still be sick. And that kind of pushed me into the natural health world. I never, ever, ever thought I would start a practice. I would be helping people. I did it. My only reason for doing it is we were spending between like chiropractic and acupuncture and the world of supplements and tinctures and potions and all that.
Yeah.
We were spending close to $2,000 a month. And I'm like, if I can just get some sort of certification where I can get a discount on the product side of this, that would save me so much money.
Yeah.
And so I became a certified natural health professional, which I picked up a mentor along the way who was one of my dear friends. And he said, you need to become a naturopathic doctor. And I'm like, I can't go back to a 4-year college. Like, I have a sick kid. I've got another child. Like, I am now recently married again. And like, I've got life. And so long story short, I ended up going back and getting a certification as a naturopathic doctor because I had practiced for so long and I had thousands of hours of continuing education. I was grandfathered in. So now I am a licensed naturopathic doctor in the state of Wisconsin.
Awesome.
And it's kind of been a whirlwind. I've been practicing now for 15 years as of, this year, 2026. And it's really been kind of so rewarding because there are so many, especially women. I mean, health is not, our doctors are doing what they know how to do. But unfortunately, it's not getting to the root of what is happening in women's bodies. And they're not doing everything that they should be doing, especially when it comes to labs. And now that we have so many other tools available to us in the where we are today in the wellness world, wellness, that's
The hellness.
faux
Oh, right there.
That sounds like a t-shirt. The hellness. Anyway.
Let's think about that. Yeah. Oh my
But
gosh, I love
it
it.
really, once women have the right labs in front of them and they understand how pathways work and putting tools together, it is such a great thing to watch women. We have a woman coming into our office today who has officially hit her 100 pounds, and it hasn't even been a
No,
full year. And it is so amazing. We're going to
that is
celebrate her
amazing.
today. So we're so excited on that. So that's
It's
kind
amazing.
of
Congrats to her.
the backstory.
Okay, so I want to stay back for just a minute. So when your son was going through Lyme disease, because I want to kind of see how it evolved, right? What were you seeing that made you feel like the usual answers were not enough?
Well, they put him on, so he was finally diagnosed, which when I say that, it means he was suffering for quite a while before we finally actually got a doctor to run the appropriate test at the right time. Because Lyme disease is one of those things. It's a spirochete. So it comes in and it comes out, and it likes a body that is inflamed and really struggling. And so finally we got the diagnosis, and with that it was a lot of doxycycline, which it was so late in the game that it wasn't working. If you can catch it within the first 30 days, and then there is a process, like it's not doing it for 30 days, it's actually doing it longer. You
Yeah.
might actually kill that spirochete. You might get rid of that bacterium in the body. However, there's so many cofactors and stuff that creep in during the process, and that's what we were dealing with. And it wasn't going to be a simple tincture or a prescription medication that was going to take care of it for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, Lyme disease is the devil. So how did that, while you were going through that, how did that experience kind of change the way you looked at health? Like I'm leading into like how you made the transition, the body, and kind of what people, women especially, need when they're suffering and aren't being fully heard.
Well, I think when we step into a phase of life, or somebody in our world is stepping into a phase of life that is more of a crisis, right? Where before that happens, we're just living life, It's like I was Thursday to, naughty Sunday. I live near the lake. I live, our
Mm,
area is very, you know, party centric, so to speak. It's like vacation
yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
And so we just had this, work hard, play hard mentality, and, raising kids and working and having fun and doing what we can. And then this happens. And it's like, whoa. And until that happens, a lot of times, especially to compare it to like what I see in women's health. And I don't want to leave men out because I do work with men, but it's usually the wives that are dragging their husbands in to come see me, or they won't come in to see me, but they'll do a telehealth call. But we see this kind of like, okay, this isn't what I planned at age 35 or
Yeah.
40 or 50 or whatever age. What happened? Like if you almost feel like you wake up one day and everything's chaotic. And for me, it was like, I got to get to the bottom of this because whatever they're doing isn't working, and they're only doing what they know. And I have friends that are chiropractors, which actually are my son's godparents, and they would give me like, okay, diet wise, you got to make sure we're pulling out gluten and dairy, and try to tell, like he was diagnosed at age 11, and then he was re-diagnosed with chronic Lyme at age 16. So
Gosh.
because we thought we were okay, like we were doing a lot of supplements and trying to do a lot of the right things, but
Yeah.
at age 16, high school, it was a lot of stuff going on. And we just didn't really have any answers, like what is going on. And so that's when I finally said, okay, I'm going to go back to school and I want to learn more about nutrition. So I got a nutritional certification, and then I got certified as a natural health professional, and then stepped into taking the steps to become a naturopath. And in that, I was learning so much. And it doesn't matter if it's a 16-year-old boy with Lyme disease or a 36-year-old woman who's like, okay, 2 years ago, I could keep my weight off. My skin looked good. My hair wasn't
Yeah.
thinning. My sleep was good. All of those things. My workouts were good. And now I feel like something has really shifted, and not in a good way. And honestly, it's diet. If you don't have the foundations in place. Nothing I talk about today is really going to matter long term because we can't have, and I used to have this mentality that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe I'm going to be really, really good. I'm going to be diligent with my diet. I'm going to get my workouts in. I'm going to be on. But
Okay.
then Friday shows up and we kind of, whatever,
Yeah.
So you can't have this three or
Yeah.
4 days of being good and then 2 days of being bad. Like it just doesn't work. And if you want to age gracefully and not have to do all the things. But
Okay.
unfortunately, there's a lot of things impacting our health right now.
So many things. I mean, that's, you just named, you just kind of labeled me for sure. Like I on this like dairy free conquest, and then Friday will come and be like, oh, let's have a glass of wine and I'll have it, let's go out for a steak or a burger, and it goes south quick. So you work with women who may, I can relate to this, who may look successful and feel good on the outside, but they feel like a complete hot mess on the inside, right? So when a woman comes to you and she says, I do not feel like myself anymore, what is it that you're actually usually hearing from that? What do you hear underneath all of that saying?
Well, their confidence is shriveled up
Mm,
because I work with women across. I have stay-at-home moms. I have the professional woman, who is traveling and presenting in front of people they're having, panic attacks and sweats and brain fog, and they feel like they can't keep up with not only the demands of their life, but especially when it comes to if they're career orientated, they feel like they're losing ground.
yeah,
And they've worked hard to get to certain positions, but just on average, the everyday woman, it's one thing not to remember where I set my phone down or my keys, but
yeah,
it's when you can't finish a sentence, when you feel like there's like these, almost like when you have bad Wi-Fi and you get like the glitches.
yeah,
It's like you've got a Wi-Fi misfiring in your brain and they're not sleeping that well. And they're getting that abdominal weight, their face is puffy, their periods are getting wonky, just everything seems to be just kind of not working right, and they don't know what to do because they've gone to their doctor, they've ran the typical labs, and we can talk a little bit about that if you want to, what
yeah,
you should run. Like I will tell you what you should have done on
absolutely.
a basic
Yeah,
panel.
yeah,
But what happens is when you go to the doctor and you say, I am not feeling right, like something's not right, they'll run the blood panels and they'll usually run a comprehensive metabolic panel that'll have an A1C, maybe it should have a fasting insulin. You want a fasting insulin, or I'm sorry, it'll have a fasting glucose. They never will run fasting insulin unless when they see a need for it, which is not right off the gate, they're not probably
right,
going to do that. Make
right.
sure, demand a fasting insulin. Just say, because that is if you've got to know what your fasting insulin is. Maybe we can come back and do a podcast where we're talking about,
The
because
clinical side. Yeah.
the clinical side of
Yeah.
like
Let's
what
do it.
functional, where should your
Yeah.
labs fall to be considered healthy, because they are very different. You have conventional lab ranges that put you in a bell curve. So if you have people with if you're going into a lab that cancer, drug, sick people are getting lab
Yeah.
tested, you're put in that bell curve. So of course you're going to look pretty normal. So when you sit in front of your doctor, they're like, everything looks normal. Well,
Yeah.
they're not looking at how the body functionally works and looks good. They're looking at the bell curve system, just like you in high school or getting graded, right? So we want a comprehensive metabolic panel that's going to tell us, like, it's going to help with some adrenal health. It's going to tell us a little bit about your glucose, how you're handling
Right.
your blood sugar
Right.
and your liver and some other important things. So that's, and some, you can even ask for like an extra like magnesium and, some other than potassium and sodium. You can get some other, you can ask them to run like a full mineral panel too.
Yeah.
But definitely a comprehensive metabolic panel. You want a lipid panel. And the reason, when I break down the labs, I can see insulin resistance in a lipid panel. And if I have to say this, because there is a war on cholesterol. So if you think having a lower cholesterol is good. I challenge you to dive into this because cholesterol it's at the top of the cascade for your sex binding hormones. So
Right.
you need cholesterol for estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, progesterone, pregnenolone, and cortisol. So we need cholesterol. And before statins came on the market, the healthy range was 220 to 240, maybe even a little higher. And we had less heart disease then. So, of course, when we bring in statins now, when we are pushing that, we
Yeah.
don't want you over 200 because let's be real. I mean, I have people walk in and they're like, my doctor says I'm good. My cholesterol is 125. And I'm just like, oh, every cell of your body, the cell membrane is made out of a lipid, and that lipid is cholesterol. Our eyes, our
Yeah.
hair, our
Yeah.
hormones, like so much. So you definitely want your cholesterol panel. You
Okay.
want CBC with differential. Make sure you're always getting it with differential. Don't let them run it without it. And it
Yeah.
will.
A woman is 35, 45, 55, 65, or 75. And suddenly the things that used to work don't work anymore. Same food, same workout, same effort. But now everything feels harder, more difficult, looks worse. What's happening in the body during those seasons? Like, why does weight change? Why does sleep change? Why the energy dips? Why does stress hit the body differently? And is this really a willpower problem, or is it that the wrong conversation is happening entirely?
Well, a lot of people will say it's in my genetics, and genetics is what you're born with, but it's our epigenetics. It's all the lifestyle stuff that pulls the trigger. So you could have the worst genetics on the planet, but man, if you're really dialed in to your health and doing so many of the things that can help us,
Yeah.
that is going to be we just don't want that trigger being pulled. So we want to make sure we're drinking clean water and supplements to a point. Yes, some supplements can help with deficiencies, especially if you
Yeah.
are on medications. But here, the conversation has to start with lifestyle. So we get things dialed in. If you know you have a sensitivity to dairy, well, don't eat it or don't eat it often. And maybe you can have cottage cheese, but you can't drink dairy milk, or maybe certain cheeses affect you. Like, pay attention to your body. You want to make sure bread is one of the most toxic food on the planet right now,
Yeah.
because it's loaded with so much stuff. If you're making your own, or you're buying it from maybe four ingredients, that's fine. But we're eating a lot of foods that contribute to heart disease. High carb diets contribute to heart disease, number one killer, right? But it also causes inflammation in the body. And the more inflammation we have, the more likelihood we're going to store fat. Our liver is not going to process our hormones, our estrogen well. So now we're storing more estrogen, and
Yeah.
that's up for a higher potential for estrogen based cancers. And we don't want that. So
Mm-mm.
we want to manage as best as we can our diet. And again, that could be a whole podcast too, but getting diet dialed in. We really need resistant training and weightlifting. Women, hear me on this. I do not even really enjoy working out. I have to I have to keep telling myself,
Yeah.
60, do you want to be a 70-year-old melted candle? You do all these things, but yet you're gonna be wilty. And I don't want that. Nobody wants that. And
Yeah.
so we do need to do resistant training, and swimming, biking, walking, that's all fine, but don't think that's enough, because it's not going to be enough
Right.
at all, because you need to activate the muscle. If you're not activating the muscle, if you're on a restrictive diet, or if you are doing the GLPs, which are so, feel like everybody's doing it. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to talk about it, but I'm
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
fluid.
Yes. Yes.
Love my love my
Yeah.
GLPs, peptides, but
Yeah.
we do need to incorporate these things.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things I found so interesting about your work is this idea that aging itself is not the problem. It's not necessarily a problem. You talk about disrupted signaling. So, can you explain that in simple terms? What does it mean when the body's signals are off?
We have receptors. Our cells are always communicating from our head to our gut to our muscle. All cells, there's a communication there's an ecosystem and there is a wiring system in our body. And what happens as we age, and it can start from a very young age. You might have come out of the chute with some, issues already based on how was your mother? Like, was she super stressed at pregnancy? You might have come into this world with poor signaling in so many different areas of the body. But what happens as we age, we have stress and we have environmental factors, we have poor quality food, definitely poor quality water. Don't even get me started on that. And then, of course, we just have like carpet, fluorescent lighting, driving in our car, EMFs. We have all these things that kind of can short circuit our body. And so what happens is the signaling is often the problem. So yeah, you can blame genetics all you want, but then you got to look at the lifestyle factors, because what's pulling the
For
trigger?
sure.
And then how do you go in and fire up these receptors again, to fire up the pathways to communicate, to have the body actually remind the body, how are you supposed to function? And the only way to do that, you can't do that with supplements. It doesn't happen. You have to use things like peptides, because I've been working with peptides since the end of 2020 is when I got involved. And the more I learned and the more I studied, I finally, now that they're a little bit more mainstream and we can get them from 503A compounding pharmacies, I decided this is now how we need to help women lose weight, because we were very successful in weight loss programs. We were doing genetic testing and lab testing. We were doing all these things. Now I get a woman that comes in, it's like, hey, bottom line, let's get you started. Maybe it's microdosing. That's a new term, right? We've
Yeah.
heard of Ozempics and, all of these brand name Monjaro, these peptides for weight loss, but there are so many more that do so many other things. And GLPs, have been kind of this like, woo, they've really kind of taken the world by storm.
Right. Yeah.
We are going to start seeing other peptides where it's going to be like, woof, it is going to blow GLPs out of the water probably in the next 12 to 18 months, because of the new release of category 2 to category 1 peptides that are coming out, I think in June.
Okay. Okay, I love it. So let's talk about peptides, because people are hearing that word here and there and everywhere. Let's start with this. Can you first explain what are peptides in plain English?
So I think that one of the best ways to just explain it without getting too sciencey is, peptides are just small strands of amino acids. Think of them as just like short bits of full protein.
Hmm.
They kind of like, think of a text message. So they're like text messengers in the body. They're signaling cells to do specific things,
Okay.
maybe repair or rejuvenation. It might work with hormones. Insulin is a peptide. Where would we be in today's health world
Right.
if we did not
Right.
have signaling? I mean, hallelujah. And so we are looking for things neurologically. There are pathways that GLPs or other anti-inflammatory peptides can help with neurological issues like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia. Like it's so amazing. And even immune function. I have a t-shirt that says I have a peptide for that. But they're not full proteins. These are these small portions, like little strands on a necklace, and it's different combinations of these amino acids that form specific peptides. Peptides in general will form proteins. That's how our organs are built, our glands, our tissue, our body is made up of protein. So these are not, when we talk about peptides, we're not talking about, steak and chicken. We're talking about actual, when it's broken down in the body, these small amino acids start to form little chains, and they do specific things in the body. They influence how the body is going to communicate and respond to something going on. And what happens as we age and we deal with stress and all of the factors we talked about is that signaling kind of quiets down, maybe even shuts off. So bringing in these peptides for certain, and what's great about peptides is many of the peptides do more than one thing. They do multiple things. They affect multiple systems, and they, like the GLPs, when you were looking at compounded, they're very clean, compounded from a 503A. Please do not buy just off some internet site, because if something goes wrong, you're not going to have anybody to call or talk to. They're not tested. They are going after these sites, but when we're looking at, legit 503A compounding pharmacies, These peptides are going in through injection. Now, some are nasal, you can get some in nasal sprays, you can get some orals, which I'm always a little careful with orals because they're not going to be as effective. They just can't be effective as injections, but they are going in and actually reminding your body how to work again. It's why we have the kind of results we have in our practice, is because we understand the pathways, and supplements just aren't going to cut it. Technologies that are out there just aren't going to cut it. Now, all those things are great, doing mindset stuff and meditations and our workouts and our food and our, just our lifestyle, reducing alcohol and all of that. That's all great. But if the signaling isn't there, it's kind of a two-step process, right? Like, we need all those things. And if we have those things pretty much in check, then you introduce a specific peptide for maybe going after specific things.
Okay.
Wow. It's like the body just lights up and starts functioning again.
So how would you tell women, like how can women tell the difference between like real support and the next shiny wellness trend? Like how do you define, like what would you say to somebody like be cautious of this, you know?
Well, based on results, if you are using peptides, let's just start there. If you're using peptides and you're not getting the results that you want, you're probably not getting the best quality. And there are even differences between even legit compounding pharmacies, because it's all about the testing, because there are COAs coming in, and many pharmacies, I've spoken to some of the pharmacists and the pharmacies, and they don't know what they're getting, and they're calling their vendors going, I don't know what we just got. So we're working now with one that will be strictly all US, hopefully here in the next 2 months. They're already starting to do that, but they're all coming in from, like China, and, I think India is another place, but the testing and making sure they are what they say they are, because and they're not all equal. And so if you're not feeling results, that's one thing. Supplements are going to get you so far. You will know, most women know within the first week, but definitely within the first three weeks of using any peptide that we recommend, it's like a light bulb goes on and things start functioning better, be it if it's for metabolic health or if it's for brain health or pain and injury or just rejuvenating the body. That's a lot, because a lot of women have inflammatory weight.
And
Right?
are there different peptides for different things or
Yes.
okay, so tell me
Yes.
a little bit about that. So somebody who needs, weight loss, somebody who needs I don't know, you tell me.
Well, we've mentioned hot mess women. Those are my people. Those are at my age and my kind of my health and my life and what I've done and what I've experienced. Those are my people. Like, those are the people I love to help because I've been there and I understand.
Yeah.
And my goal, and every woman's goal, should be to look and feel as young as we possibly can, because what you do now, what you do today is going to affect you 5 years from now, 10 or 20 years from now. And we have to kind of wake up and think, okay, how do I want to change my health? What's the direction I really want to be? Do I want to be 60 years old and I can't get down on the floor with my grandkids and get up without somebody helping me? Or am I going to be hiking up some mountain with my 16-year-olds and keeping up with them and saying, come on,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think what is your priority? That should be your first question. How do you see yourself when you're, 20 years from now or 10 years from now, or, when you're 80 or whatever it may be. And with peptides, I think that's where I finally had to take a step back and say, I've got all these women coming in and they're a hot mess. Like, some of them have had labs and they're mediocre labs. Like, they haven't really,
Yeah.
they got labs that really aren't even complete. Like, I don't know how anybody would figure out what's going on with you based on these labs, to hormone testing, and they're on hormones and they're still not getting where they want to be. They're still a hot mess. And I am like, hear me on this. Ozempics and all of that, they're not going to offer microdosing, but microdosing, a GLP, GIP is where if somebody's sitting in front of me, I'm like, hey, here's the deal. We can do all that testing. It's going to be around $1,000 just to get all the testing that we would want to get done. Because if we're going to do it, we need to do it right. Because doing it halfway is not going to get us the answers. Or let's just start you out in microdosing for 3 months and let's see what happens. When I started doing that, I started getting referrals like crazy, because what was happening is all of these things that were causing women to be kind of like feeling like a hot mess started going away. migraines and headaches, and sleep got better, and their cravings and it, all of the things that were going on now were better, losing 10, 15 pounds in 3 weeks of mostly inflammation, because the GLP GIP is very anti-inflammatory. It helps with insulin resistance, and you have insulin resistance. 90% of the population has insulin resistance, so don't fool
Right.
yourself. And they're not testing fasting insulin. So get your fasting insulin tested when you go to the doctor if they're going to run labs. Beg for that. But that is where I want to start almost with everybody. Yes, we can do all the hormone testing, but I would rather let's get some of this low hanging fruit taken care of. Then let's come back. Now, what is still going on? Where are you still lacking? Is energy still a little low? Maybe we need to add an NAD injection to that, or maybe the brain fog. Maybe it's a NAD nasal spray. Maybe your detox systems are still kind of wonky. We're going to look at glutathione, or maybe it is a supplement. Maybe it's a thyroid issue. Your hair is thinning. Well, let's get your full thyroid tested, right? Because their TSH is not your thyroid. So they're not even testing your T3 and free T3 in most cases. So we need, then we can kind of step back and come back into the picture and go, okay, now where are we? Let's get this low hanging fruit. So for my hot mess women, that's where I like to start.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of pain and you're inflamed, maybe you're a man, or maybe you were an athlete in high school or college and you have an injury that you just it's bogging you down and you can't really work out because it's really, maybe it's in the shoulder or in the hip or the knees. We're going to look at something like BPC 157 combined with TB 500 or the Clo stack. We're going to look at one of those two to kind of come in and let's work on the peptides that signal repair and rejuvenation. Maybe it's brain, maybe there's, some brain stuff going on. Maybe you have a lot of Alzheimer's or dementia in your family, or Parkinson's or anything like that. GLP microdosing can help with that, but definitely we can look at some of the brain, the mitochondria support, the cell health. So there is a peptide for everything, but what's so great about all of them is they all kind of cross over. So it's really kind of honing in, like, what's your priority, like right now? And for women, it's all the hot mess stuff. It's so many
So
things.
much.
I don't even know where to start.
So much. Yeah. So, okay. Where can people find you? Like cause you don't have to live in Madison, Wisconsin to see you, right? You can definitely connect. So what's the best place for them to connect with you?
Well, you can go on my website, Dr. Angela Rahm, Rahm. We can list that in the show notes too.
For sure.
That pretty much has how you can connect to me. You can schedule a discovery call. You can check out a lot about peptides, just kind of see a lot of what I talk about and promote. You can find me on Facebook at Angela Rahm. Social media is really funky right now because I am in I love peptides. I'm obsessed with peptides. We can't talk about peptides on social media because they will cancel you. What does that tell you when, it's like, who owns Meta?
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you think that is? That's
because
crazy.
They work.
Crazy.
Big pharma, right? Like,
yeah,
they're shutting it all. I have I have two entities, and our one practice, our aesthetics practice, it's restricted. Like, I don't even know if you can go on there and find us anymore. And mine has been shut down, and then they let me come back because it'll say that I've breached community standards because I talked about peptides.
gosh.
So we have to think things like Pop-Tarts and Peptides and weird things that look like peptides, say peptides. Yeah, but that's when you sit back and go, why is that?
Why
It's not
is
because they're
that?
dangerous for you.
Yeah.
Because I could talk about statins that have a slew of side effects. I can talk about all kinds of drugs on there, but I can't talk about something that's more natural that, they can't patent unless they put a slew of chemicals in there.
Yeah.
You look at the Ozempic and the Mounjaro, you look at what's in it, and it's a paragraph where you look at compounding and it's 3 ingredients, it's the peptide and something added to it like a L-carnitine or glycine or something. But yeah, it's kind of sad that that's the world, in 2026, that's freedom of speech. And here we are, where it's not.
Yeah, for sure. So we've reached this part in our favorite segment in our podcast. It's 60-second DoorDash. We talked about it a little bit, and I'm going to change it up for you just a little bit. And here's why. I think it would be more interesting. So I'll say a phrase, and then you tell me whether it is something to keep, to get rid of, or to question. So keep it, kick it, or question it. I'm just
Okay.
going to say a phrase and you say what would be best. Are you ready?
Keep it, kick it, get rid of it. Got it.
Question it. Keep it, kick it, question it.
Okay.
Right? So my labs are normal, so nothing is wrong.
Question it.
Skipping breakfast to lose weight.
That's kind of a question it.
Okay.
Can I tell you why?
Yeah, yeah, I would love to know
If
that.
if you have a lot of autoimmune issues and you have a hard time getting in, say, your protein macros for a day and your energy is really low, don't be fasting. Like you need to get things in check because it could hurt you more down the road. I do love fasting. I like a 6 hour, 16-hour fast. And I think even if you can do a 16-hour fast a couple times a week, you
Yeah.
could kick breakfast. But
Okay.
you want to kind of question it based on your own kind of where you're at right now.
Okay, I love that. I just did a 24-hour fast. It was great. It felt great. Like it
Yep.
was just like 6 to 6,
Autophagy. It's good.
Yeah.
Get some debris out of your body. I think it's great.
Yes. Give my body's gut a little bit of time. Okay, strength training after 40.
Keep it.
Yeah. Blaming everything on menopause.
Question it.
Random supplements from TikTok.
Boom, get rid of it.
Okay. Sleeping 5 hours and calling it normal.
Kick it.
Protein at every meal.
Keep it.
Doing more cardio when the weight will not move.
Kick it.
Asking for deeper labs.
Absolutely. Keep it.
And thinking it's too late to feel good again.
Kick that thought.
I love it. So, okay, let me ask you this. Which, out of all that, which one of those do you wish women would kick immediately?
So I have to think of probably that it's too late for me.
Yeah.
That mindset is we have somebody coming in that less than a year ago was well over 100 pounds overweight. And she is coming in today so we can celebrate her. And what if she would have had that attitude that it's too late for me, because she's not a spring chicken. And where would she be today, health wise? And just, she's so confident now. So, yeah, you got to lose that attitude. It is never too late. You just need to find the right person to work with and, just know that it's never too late. That
Yeah.
when it's too late is when both feet are 6 feet under. That's when it's too late. If you still
Yeah.
got one foot in and one on a banana peel, you still got some time. There's still some room for improvement.
Oh my gosh. All of this just makes so much sense to me. And it just is, it's good to know that there's somebody out there that can help you figure it out, that will hear you. I've been to the doctor, my own personal story. I've been to the doctor so many times and I've had this, I call it bloat. I don't know what else to call it. And I've had an x-ray and like when I stand sideways in a mirror, I'm telling you, Angela, I look 8 months pregnant.
We need a discovery call because
we're having it.
On that.
It is so, and I know I'm not the only one. And it is so frustrating. So that's what put me on this trajectory to like do a fast. Now I'm doing a juice cleanse. I cut out all dairy for at least 2 weeks. I just want to see. I'm trying to like go through this process of elimination. And I know there's so many women out there that can relate to this. Like they've got to figure it out. Maybe it's gluten. Maybe you have a gluten allergy. Maybe you have a dairy allergy. Maybe you have this allergy or that allergy or, cause I'm 60, I'll be 64 next month.
Oh, you look
so great. Thank you. Thank you. Well, something's working then, but I'm serious. Like it's just, and I laugh at the TikTok. I had to throw that in there because that is me. Like,
hey, I get caught up in that and I'm like,
I'm like, foot pads, multivitamins, chews, like all gummies, all these things, liquids, you name it, I'm doing it. So I'm a walking story myself. And I know there's millions of women out there, and you don't have to be 60, but I'm past menopause. I can't use that as an excuse anymore. So like, what is it, And so I'm just like, process of elimination myself because I've had an x-ray on my belly. This is why I'm like, I must have stomach cancer, right? Like that's my fear. I've had an x-ray. I've had what do you call it? An ultrasound. And I told my husband, the next thing is going to be an MRI because something is in there that is not working. It's
You need
not going
you need
away
a
no matter what I
CBC.
do.
You need a CBC with differential, and I have an infection protocol that's like 100, less than $150, that totally, like, within days will help. If it sounds like you have a little infection, that because doctors don't look at a CBC with differential, if they look at it with differential, and they don't necessarily see infection, they're looking for whatever they're looking for, and totally crazy numbers, and I see it and it's like boom, done. And then it's you might just have to start healing those tight junctures to get rid of the inflammation. So there are, literally, I can help you so fast and
See,
furious. So let's set up a call.
we kind of had a discovery call right now, like live on the air. Here we are, you know?
Totally
Yeah,
doable. And I would encourage, if you are kind of struggling, the discovery call, I mean, I say 15 minutes. Sometimes it goes longer than that. I always give valuable information. I don't let you waste my time, and I don't waste your time. I want to bring value, and usually it turns into a great relationship. But you have to make that first step, like
we do.
recognizing that something's wrong, that, hey,
Yes,
being overweight or feeling like crap, I'm 60 but I feel 80, that's not normal. And it's recognizing the what's not normal here. We're not meant to age and be on medications. If you're on a medication, I'll leave you with this: is ask your doctor, hey doctor, because you don't want to insult them. They've spent a lot of money and many years to become a doctor, a medical
that's
doctor,
right.
but ask them, what do you need to see for me to get off of XYZ medications? Because
Exactly.
we have
Yeah.
a population that's well over medicated, and we're not medication deficient. That is not the problem, but that's medical. That's what they do. They're trained in that world, and surgeries.
Okay, we're going right there next. So I want to
Okay.
end with this tiny dare. This is a segment that everybody waits for. I want to end with a tiny dare directly from you. And this is your personal challenge to women listening. She may be 35 and already feeling off. She could be, 52 and blaming menopause for everything, like we talked about. She could be 68 and thinking, well, it's too late. What is one small dare you want to give her this week? Even him, right? Anybody. It could be asking for, I don't know. I'm not even going to say it. I'll just let you go.
Well, first of all, we have to take responsibility for our bodies. Our doctors they're there for advice. They are not, I always say, they're not God, and they do not run your show. So you need to be an advocate for yourself. If you're not asking questions to your doctor, and you're going to the doctor on a regular basis, and you're on medications, my challenge to you is truly to, one, kind of take a scan of your body. Where are things not feeling right? And look at your medication. So my challenge to you is, if you're I have two challenges. One, for somebody who is on medication, I want you to go to drugs.com, drugs, drugs.com. I want you to put in that medication, and I want you to look at all the side effects. And when you do that, I want you to kind of, on a sheet of paper, write down all the side effects you have. And then, like I said, go to your doctor and then say, hey, doctor, I have all these side effects. I'm on these three medications. I want to know, what do I have to do? What do you need to see for me to get off of these medications? So that's challenge one. Challenge two is, if you are or are not on medications, is I want you to think, what have I done that isn't working anymore? And because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. And what is one thing that I know I could change? Maybe it came from listening to this podcast. Maybe I want to look at my diet. Maybe I want to look at my exercise. Maybe I want to look at, okay, what are some alternatives to some of, maybe, supplements I've been doing? Most people have been doing supplements for 20, 25 years, and they're not really getting better. They feel okay, but they're not getting better. So what is one thing that you could change, like, now, this week, the rest of this week? What's one thing that you feel, from what you heard from this session today, that you could change and implement that's healthier? Maybe you're not doing resistant training or weightlifting, and you're going to add 2 days a week. You're going to be like, all right, I'm going to go to YouTube, and I'm going to put in, for a beginner, I want to do a full body 12-minute workout. You can find anything on YouTube related to exercise. So that is your challenge, getting that workout in, if that's where you need improvement. Maybe it's just setting a discovery call up with me, because you don't have to hire me or do anything I say, but you're going to get some valuable information. And just take the initiative to take a step, because again, I'm going to repeat, what you do today is going to greatly impact how tomorrow, next week, next year, and consistency in doing things that we know that are going to help us age gracefully. And longevity, muscle is the key to longevity, because the more muscle you have, the more calories you will burn at rest and the more metabolically sound you can be. Like, being skinny is one thing, but if you don't have muscle, you're going to be a rickety old lady. And we have to protect that structure in our body. So even 2 days a week is better than nothing. So maybe it's just starting with that.
Got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. I agree with that. I love that. Both of those challenges. Listeners, you heard. And listen, you can connect with Dr. Angela Rahm at idealselftoday.com. Is that right?
Yep,
I
either Ideal Self Today or Dr. Angela Rahm.
Dr. Angela Rahm, and you will find her and you'll be able to make an appointment, a discovery call appointment, and just connect. And even if it's just to share with her what's going on and let her share back some valuable information that you may be able to take with you that day and move forward, even the slightest step. Right? That's so important. Dr. Angela Rahm, thank you so much for being here and for reminding us that aging does not mean we have to stop asking questions or stop feeling strong or stop believing our bodies can feel better. You know, it's not old age. Please stop saying that, everyone. And to everyone listening, do me a favor. If this episode made you think of someone who's maybe going through something, a friend, a sister, a daughter, a mom, a coworker, pay it forward, because that's how we help each other. Pay it forward and please share it with them. Let them hear it. Let them find Dr. Angela Rahm and her Ideal Center and be able to help you. Sometimes one conversation, it really is exactly what helps someone stop blaming themselves and start asking better questions, you know? And while you're here, make sure you follow and subscribe the Sock Drawer Podcast so you don't miss the next super, super important conversation like these. And until next time, I want you to stay strong, stay brave, take that one small step and take that one tiny dare that you were given today towards what fits now. We'll see you next time on the Sock Drawer Podcast. Take care.
Every week we come here and open the drawer. You already know what's inside. You always have. And if this conversation challenged you in a good way, and you think it will help challenge someone else who needs it, send it to them, because that's how we pay it forward together. Subscribe and follow so you never miss what's coming next. And find us at thesockdrawerpodcast.com.